Today on West Chicago Railroad, let's review the Santa Fe Genset Switcher by Lionel. So, two things I want to discuss before we move forward with the full review. One of them is not so obvious, and the other one is glaringly obvious. So, this is not the Vision Line model from 2009 and 2010, although it does share the same tooling. It is completely die-cast as well. The main differences are the lack of three independent smoke units, which were present on the Vision Line model. And also, this model does not have road-specific crew talk. So, in the Vision Line, it would announce the road name with the road number. And this specific model, it does not have that. It's just your generic crew talk. The second item is that the Santa Fe War Bonnet paint scheme is indeed a fantasy paint scheme here. But BNSF was the largest purchaser of this locomotive, and it's not impractical to think that BNSF could paint one like this if they wanted to. All right, so let's go over some brief history on this specific model. The 3GS21B is a low-emissions diesel switcher locomotive built by NRE, National Railway Equipment. It is powered by three engines, with each one developing around 700 horsepower and creating a total power output of about 2100 horsepower. So having multiple engines instead of one single prime mover, a design referred to as a, quote, genset, reduces overall diesel emissions and improves fuel efficiency. More than 150 of the 3GS21B genset locomotives have been produced to date, with the majority of these units being manufactured at NREC's Mount Vernon shop in southern Illinois. So let's go over some of the features on this specific model, and then we'll go down and take a closer look at the details. So this is equipped with Legacy. It can be run with the Legacy control mode. It can be run in TMCC. It can also be run in conventional mode with a standard transformer. It has Odyssey 2 speed control, Legacy rail sounds. It does have a single torque motor, flywheel torque motor, and I'm being specific on that it has only one single motor, and I'll explain that a little bit later on as to why it only has one. It has front and rear electrocouplers. It's got a single fan-driven smoke unit, which is in the center. It's got ditch lights on the front and the back, LED headlights in the front and rear, illuminated number boards. It's got ground lights on the sides. It is a completely die-cast model. There's realistic open vents. There is just a really, lot of high level of detail across the whole thing. Paint job is fantastic. The cab in the front here actually can be removed for a closer look at the cab details, which we will go over. And it also has sleep technology, like its prototype. So if it's sitting idle for, more than a minute, I don't know the exact time, but it'll actually shut itself down. And then if you perform any action on the remote, it'll start itself back up again. And we'll go over that further on down the review here. So let's start at the front here. We have very highly detailed front part of this engine. We've got some hoses down here. We have a electrocoupler in the front. Some just really beautiful railing here. Chain here. The paint job and obviously the Santa Fe War Bonnet scheme is done beautifully on this engine. We got some window wipers here on the front cab windows. Again, this is die-cast, so this is not plastic, so it does give off a nice kind of glossy reflection. It's the top of the cab here is very well decorated. You get your horn here, air conditioning, and I believe there's some communication array hardware up there as well. So just to show the top of the cab, and I'm actually going to remove this just to show you. So this is the cab, and this is how it's removed. It just pulls right off, so it's held together by some magnets down there. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this on so we can see the interior lighted up with the instrument panel as well. Okay, so I went ahead and applied power to the track. So we have our engineer here with the fireman, and then down here is where we have the illuminated instrument panel, which is obviously very, very cool. Like, this is not something that you're only going to see on very high-end models, and probably just the Vision Line models, but this one, because they use the Vision Line tooling here, they kept the detailed front cab, which is just absolutely cool looking. And then to put the cab back on, you just kind of have to fit it nicely. It kind of, sometimes you kind of have to fiddle with it to kind of get it on correctly. But for the most part, I never have a problem with it coming off, so it stays on pretty tight. So in order to get access to all of the switches for programming and smoke, there is a panel here, and it just comes down. It's held on by a magnet, a single magnet over here. And then you have your on and off smoke, you have your Odyssey control, your program run switch, and then your manual volume control. And then again, it's just simply held up by a magnet, just like that. Okay, so as we move on down a little bit farther, we see this beautiful Santa Fe labeling right here. There are just tons of just little details on this thing. Tiny little stickers, just access panels, vents, as well as on top, there's a highly detailed fuel tank right here. The trucks on this thing are also just fantastic looking, extremely realistic. There is, so in order to load smoke in this specific unit, again, unlike the Vision Line, this does not have 3 independent smoke units. There's only 1 smoke unit in the center here, and then that feeds smoke to all 3 stacks. And then in order to load smoke in this, you would load smoke in this center stack. Now, the best way I found to do this, you can pull this out, but I don't know. It seems like it's really stuck in there, and I don't want to pull it out to damage it. So what I do is I have a small little funnel, which I'll show you. Okay, so here's a little funnel I have. This is you get this with if you buy like Lionel Legacy steam engines, they usually include a little funnel here, and I prefer to load smoke with this, even over some of the little smaller little needle droppers. This one works well because it fits right in that top stack, just like that. And then you pour smoke in there, and then you're good to go. Okay, so let's take a look at the rear of the engine. Just like the front, it's very well done. Rear electrocoupler, got some MU hoses here, some beautiful railings here. Notice that in the front and the back, they're yellow, and then in the center they're silver, which is kind of a nice little touch. Again, the color and the paint on this is absolutely spectacular because when you get this paint job on a metallic die-cast engine, it really does show, especially if there's a lot more light applied. And getting reflections off the body and everything else. So it just looks fantastic. So just a brief summary before we move on to the running session. This engine was offered in the 2011 Lionel Volume 2 catalog. It was offered in 3 other railroad names besides Santa Fe. So you could get it in Canadian National, Kansas City Southern, and Pacific Harbor Line. So all 4 of those were available in the 2011 Volume 2 catalog. The length of the engine is around 16 inches. The minimum curve is 0.42, but they do recommend 0.54. I've had it run on my 0.36, my inner loop, which is 0.36, and I didn't have any problems with it. My outer loop is 0.48, and obviously I don't have any issues there as well. So one last thing before we start it up and take it for a running session. I did want to note that the front pilot here is actually fixed. And what that means is it's not connected to the trucks like a normal O-gauge engines and rolling stock are. This one is independent from that. So when it goes around curves, you don't get that really, the front of the engine doesn't actually turn with the curves. Only the trucks do, which is prototypical of an actual, train engine. And then I also mentioned at the beginning of this review, I was going to explain why there's only one single motor in this unit. Well, that's because in order to get the detailed cab up here, they had to sacrifice a motor. So, to be honest with you, I don't have any pulling issues with this engine. Because it's die-cast and it's very heavy, it has a lot of traction, and I don't have any issues pulling anything. Besides, it's a switcher engine too, so it's not like you're pulling a lot of cars with this thing. It's used to obviously just push and pull rolling stock in a yard, and that's basically its job. So again, I actually prefer to have the full kind of detailed cab with the single motor. That doesn't bother me at all. Okay, so let's start it up. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to do the extended startup mode, and then we'll also take a look at the sleep functionality before we actually start running around the layout here. So I'm going to go ahead and start it up.
This is the Yardmaster. Do you read me? Over. Roger that. Read you loud and clear. Start her up and stand by to pull. Roger. Out.
All right, so let's take a look at the bell. Let's hear the bell. And the horn. Pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to let it sit idle, and then I'll demonstrate the sleep technology. So again, this is hands off. This is done automatically by the engine itself. Okay, so what happens is the front headlights go out, and it stops, and now it's going to start making some beeping noises, which, as far as you know, is prototypical. And now if I do any kind of functionality on the remote itself, it'll start itself back up again, out of sleep mode. Pretty cool little feature, if I do say so myself. Okay, let's do a running session here, and of course, it wouldn't be a good running session if I wasn't actually switching with a Genset switcher. So we're gonna move to a switch and couple to some coal cars.
Master, my handbrakes are knocked off. Can I pull? Over. Roger that. The lead is yours. Over. Clears to pull. Out.
Yeah, I know they don't use cabooses anymore, but, you know, gotta probably throw a caboose in there anyway.
This is the tower. The lead is clear for your move. Over. Copy that. Here we come. Out. Move is done. We're taking our break. Out.
One last thing I wanted to kind of show you that wasn't present in the video, unfortunately, was that there is indeed a cab light on this. The problem is if you don't put this cab top on, if it's not securely on there, it doesn't make all the connections and the cab light wasn't turned on. So, and as you can see now, there we go. The number boards weren't on either. So yeah, the top connections, because it's held down by magnets and because of the way it is, it can be a little bit finicky. Once you get it on there correctly though, you don't touch it, it works fine. It just has to be in that exact correct position to work. And of course, you know, obviously when you start moving out, you know, the cab light will turn off. So I just wanted to point that out in case anyone wants to know if there's an actual cab light on the engine itself. Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed the review of the Lionel Genset switcher. I personally, one of my favorite engines. Of course, I'll probably say that about all my engines, but just, you know, I'm a huge Santa Fe, Burlington Northern guy. So, but to find something unique like this with the you know, the war bonnet scheme is just fantastic. You know, Lionel did just a top-notch job with this, and it looks like looks like the Gensets are coming back. They were in the latest catalog, so that'd be you know, I think it's a great engine model to reproduce for hobbyists, and I really hope they come through and keep the detailed cab and stuff like that. So again, folks, thanks for watching West Chicago Railroad. This is Matt. You know, please like, leave a comment, And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Got plenty of new things coming down the pipe. Got all kinds of reviews that should show up in the next, I'm trying to get reviews out, every 2 weeks or so. So again, please leave, I appreciate any kind of feedback, and have a great day out there.